Hello, moms in real estate. This is a totally different kind of live. So I'm really excited to be here with two of my amazing friends. So you guys are all here for She Builds Teams, which is where Erin and Rebecca are going to teach you all kinds of amazing things. There's 8 pillars to go over if you're thinking like, should I build a team in 2026? Or maybe you've already started to build a team and you're like, this isn't going the way that I thought, and I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants. So we're going to go over so many awesome things today, and I'm really glad that you're here. So let me introduce everyone. Hopefully you guys know me by now. I've been in the group since it started, but if not, I am the founder of Moms in Real Estate, and I am the founder of Hello Culture, and I help female real estate agents with building communities for network expansion. And up at the top, you're going to see Rebecca Green, and she is the founder of the CEO Agent Academy with 34 years experience. She basically started in real estate when she was like 15 years old, and she has sold 1,500 homes. And we like to call her the systems queen. Everything that she builds is beautiful. And then we've got Erin Ethridge. And guess what? It's her birthday today. So happy birthday, Erin.
Well, thank you.
And just so you guys know, we're texting Erin this morning, and she, on her birthday, one of her houses, I don't know if this is one of your listings, had a flood. So happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm representing the buyer on that one. So good times had by all.
So we're going to make her birthday a little bit better by being on She Builds. She's the founder of the Ethridge team with 25 years experience and 1,300 homes sold. So between the two of them, you guys are going to be learning like the ins and outs of having a team, because they've done it every way that you can do a team. And they're going to share with you everything that works and everything that has not worked for them. So
okay. Hi, ladies. It's so nice to see everybody here. This is going to be great. And as Kristen mentioned, we're going to cover a lot of ground. Maybe you're here because you're overwhelmed or burnt out. Maybe you've had a lot of turnover on your team. Maybe your systems need some work. Maybe you felt like your business depends entirely on you. Oh my goodness. I'm sure that there are lots of folks that could raise their hand on that one. And maybe you've tried, you're trying to decide, like Kristen mentioned, do you want to start a team? Do you want to keep the team you have? Do you want to grow the one you have? Or do you want to burn it down and start from the beginning? We're going to cover all of those topics today. So if you could drop in the chat, we'd love to know who's out there and what your concerns, issues, where you are in your business. So drop us anything in the chat about whether or not you're building your first team, if you're refining an existing team, if you're scaling a well-oiled machine. And please keep in mind the comments and the chat. We do want to hear from you. So if anything comes up and you have questions, make sure to drop them there for us. Okay.
There we go. So we've got Kelly, who is building her first team. Hi, Kelly.
Great. Hi, Kelly.
Oh, Christina. Hello. She would love to build a team.
And she'd love it.
Considering it. Ooh, Tapley is considering building a team. I love hearing that. Refining.
Yep. Researching. Oh, I love this one, Pamela. I'm solo and have no desire to run a team, but want to run my business like a team owner. Like, woo on that. That is amazing. And also, we're going to talk, I love that you put that comment in here, because we are going to talk about the fact that there are a million different structures for teams, and team doesn't have to mean 27 people working under you. The idea that you have mentioned here, you want to run your business like a team owner. Team can be having a great media person. Team can be having a buyer agent. Team can be your admin. Team can be your TC. So I love that comment. And we are definitely going to cover quite a lot of ground for you as well. Okay, so most teams fail. Why do we believe most teams fail? Most team structures are built around personalities, not systems. That's problematic. Agents hire too fast and without a team. One of the things in my coaching business that I hear a lot from agents is, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, I just need a body. That is the worst worst plan ever, right? Don't do that, because when you don't set expectations, expectations are never met. And so hiring somebody just because we need help, like we're frantic and, there's a lot of chaos, just creates more chaos. So expenses, another reason teams fail, expenses are high, profits are low. Beginning of the year here. So hopefully a lot of people have gone through business planning and understand what their expenses are. When you add a team to that, depending upon how it's structured, it can really change your output on a monthly basis. Teams also fail because of lack of consistency, leadership problems, and lack of direction, and then lack of brand cohesiveness or consistent experience or service. So we're going to talk about all of these things today.
Yeah, I would say that this is exactly true. Exactly what Rebecca just touched on is that so many agents just start a team randomly. Like, for instance, when I started my team 7 years ago, I was doing 16 to 20 million on my own as an individual agent. I felt good about my life. I was making enough money, but it was kind of more of like, I never wanted to lead people, first and foremost. But 5 of my friends had got into the industry, and we all know that statistic, right? Like 90% of agents inside their first 2 years fail at real estate. And it's usually because they didn't have the proper expectation, but also the proper training and tools needed in order to make their life better, right? So I had these 5 friends join me, and they kept asking me questions. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't have my friends fail. And I'm like, screw it. We're the Ethridge team now. And I had no systems. I had a TC, but I didn't really know, like, you don't know what you don't know is essentially it, right? And so essentially that's why we're here, is that more and more women, myself, Kristen, Rebecca, we're getting so many questions about, I wish I would have known this, or how do you have your team structured? How do you have your contract? How do you have things like this? So we're just kind of trying to fill this gap, essentially, that we are personally seeing in our workspace, where there are women that want to start teams, but then don't end up doing it because of work or family or the overwhelm part of it. Okay. So that's why we're here. So we want you to write down in the chat of what part of your business feels kind of disconnected. Is there an identifiable misalignment that you're feeling? And then what are some things that you feel you need the most to help in order to build a successful team? Because I think it's something different for every single person. And a lot of it is around systems. Wouldn't you say, Rebecca?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I was going to say, again, please feel free to drop that in the chat, and we can, bring that up. Again, we want to hear from you throughout the morning here. Right. Systems are super important, and that's a great segue in. Our whole philosophy is that you're really building an ecosystem, right? You're not just building a team, you're building an ecosystem. What do we mean by that? We mean you're aligning your vision, your systems, your ops, agent support, leadership, structure, people, and culture, right? That sounds like a lot, but at the end of the day, all good businesses, right, have great ecosystems. All businesses with sustainability and longevity and profitability, the ones that are really successful are the ones that tie all of these things together. And so that really leads us to the 8-pillar framework. And interestingly enough, Erin and I have run businesses for a gazillion years, and we've run them in very different ways. But when we sat down and we started talking about She Builds Teams and coming up with what these 8 pillars were, we were so quickly in alignment in our own individual businesses on what the different pillars were. And that was really great to see. So pillar 1 is vision and structure. 2 is team roles and responsibility. Contracts and compensation. 4, systems and SOPs. Then marketing and branding, training and onboarding, culture, leadership, and retention. And then our last one is growth and ancillary services. Okay, Pamela says, lack of systems, underutilizing my CRM and email marketing. Love that. I'm not a big personal, lover of social media, but I do love a good email marketing campaign. And connectivity to marketing online. Love all of that. Workflow was another one that we saw. Those are all things that are tied right into that ecosystem that we were talking about. Delegating, being a team, being leadership, that's definitely important too. I see that one coming in. Responsibility, trying to figure out each level. We're going to help you with all of that. I'm so excited about these comments. We're definitely covering a portion of all of that. And the takeaway at the end of the today is going to be great to answer and help with a lot of these things. Okay. Erin, you're up.
Yeah. So as far as vision, structure, value, proposition, this is probably one of the biggest things that we get immediately, because when a woman comes and is like, yeah, but it's just me. And I'm like, just you, girlfriend, you are a top 1% realtor managing 3 kids at home, managing a whole family. Like there's lots to pull away from that. But I think really what they're saying is, I don't know if I trust me essentially to be in charge of these other agents, but it's also like, who are you trying to speak to? Who is your ideal audience? We know for social media, right? For our ideal client, for who we want to attract, is it a move up buyer? Is it somebody that is only luxury? It's the exact same thing as a team leader. You really have to figure out what inspires you, because for me, I absolutely love new agents, and I know that that's not popular. Like Rebecca, I don't know if you love new agents or don't, but the reason why I do is because I can mold them to be exactly what I want them to be. The reason why most team leaders don't love a new agent, it's just it takes a lot longer to get that new agent ramped up and into production, because it kind of feels, when you're hearing somebody speak a foreign language, right? So when you're brand new into real estate, we forget that everything, it's like a fire hose, right? Like they just can't comprehend everything fast enough. But you have to decide, are you going to be paying for leads? Are you coaching them to run a business like a business? One of the comments was, right? Like how I lead my team is more off of how I run my business like a business, right? Yes, I also choose to provide leads. But if I'm honest on that, a new agent, do you know that it's only a 16% chance? I have a 16% chance if I give it to a new agent that they're actually going to convert it. So then that means they're just going to kill a lot more leads. So I'm better off having a seasoned agent be calling any of the online leads, because they can convert for between a 23 and a 48% chance of closing, versus a rookie agent. They're way better to get them going in their sphere of influence and open houses, in my opinion. You'll save a fortune doing that. As far as like the teams, so how I have this set up. So there's a couple different variations of teams, and Rebecca, feel free to jump in.
Okay.
So how I recognize teams are, one is a micro team. Okay. I absolutely love this model. This is something that I have also in place. That is the team leader. Okay. And then there's a production partner, or a TC. Okay. The production partner is helping in the day-to-day, as far as helping with showings, helping with all paperwork, and also bringing in new business. So that might be calling your leads, calling your database, doing pop buys for your database. That's the production partner micro team model. Essentially, all of the business is coming back to the team leader. How you can set that up is 2 ways. One, you pay them a salary. which is 50, 60 grand, plus usually a 5% off of each deal. The reason why people don't do that is obviously they want to keep their expenses low, right? There's reasons why you would or wouldn't want to do that. And that is because if you have a salary employee, you can say, you need to be here at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day. You're going to call 50 people every single day. You're going to work 3 open houses, whatever. You get to dictate all of that, okay? Mm-hmm. I chose to just do a showing partner. I pay her 10% on all of my deals. So she basically manages the whole deal. Like I might get somebody pre-qualified, but she does all of the showings, all of the inspections, everything. And I pay her 10%. I chose to do that model because like you, I like keeping my expenses low. So for me, I'm like, if she doesn't sell anything, well, it sucks to be her, right? It sucks to be me too, but she made over 100,000 last year. She's super happy in that role, but it's finding that right person. What would you say on that, Rebecca?
Yeah, and I would say the micro teams are something we're seeing more and more of. And the micro team and the small team, I think, is an interesting distinction that people might not recognize. And Erin's definition of the micro team, where everything funnels back up to the team lead, is different than a small team, right? And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the ecosystem. Understanding and knowing all of these things before you launch your team is super important, and or before you make any changes in your team. So there are nuances to the micro team, such as what does the marketing look like? There are nuances to the micro team that you may decide to have more than just the one team running. You have a micro team where they're supporting your own business. I personally am not in production as much as I was a few years ago. I'm not in production as much as Erin is anymore. And so the micro team is something that, for me, not being in production doesn't make as much sense, right? Those are things that you're going to establish throughout the conversation. But I'm going to turn it back over to Erin because, interestingly enough, Erin runs a micro team, but she also runs 2 other teams inside of her company. I actually run similar 2 teams. I run a small team and then more of a marketing group. So why don't you talk a little bit more about your other team structures?
Yeah. So a small to mid-sized team, you guys, really it's 5 to 15. It kind of switched inside the last couple of years. Now these mega teams are usually 50 and more, where it used to be 20 or more as far as the mega teams. So volume wise, I lead a mega team, but now I've scaled that back to be 9 agents right now, but we're still doing quite a bit of a volume. But essentially, they're running their own business. They have to pay a percentage into me. And I have my micro team that is out doing the work and bringing more money in from my side because I make more money that way. If you choose to do a small, medium size or a mega team, so usually these mega teams, you must have some kind of a lead generation thing, whether that is Zillow, Google, Realtor.com leads, right? What you say, Rebecca?
Yes,
you're
for sure.
You're spending
the mega teams are really production based, and the mega teams, their P&L, their business planning looks very different. They are heavy on expenses on leads, but they have enough agents to run those leads through. And so that's a really different, it's a very, very different setup.
Yeah. So how I have my team is at a 70-30 split and a 50-50 for deals I provide. And then obviously all of my production and what the production partner brings in, that's at a 90-10. I let her share 50-50 if she brought her own, where other people wouldn't allow it at all, or they would only, give her 30%, let's say. And I know for people that have been in the business, they're like, who would work for 30% or who would work a whole transaction for 10%? It always amazes me because all that she's worried about is how much money is she making? How much money did I make the year before that? And she's taking a bet. She's betting on herself also that that's going to continue going, right? So there's different ways that you can kind of set that up. But then I also have, I have my micro team, my mega team for volume wise, and then I have a marketing group, or I call it an indie team. The reason why I set this up was really because I saw a need. So on my elite team, I only allow full-time agents, because if I'm going to invest my time and money and resources, and we're doing client events and I'm sending out cards on your behalf to your database, and if I'm spending all of this money on you, I expect there to be that level of commitment, right? So the indie team is kind of more, I set it at only 10%, and it is all of like a Slack channel, and then I just have templates essentially, right? Like they are not getting a ton. They do not call me to deal doctor or something. Like I don't want to hear about what you've got going on with your transaction or anything like that. And then they get all of the recordings from my team meetings. So if they chose to come onto that, then they have the access to that. But it's really that they're part of a community that they can ask questions, but they are independently working and doing their own work. They just wanted to be able to have that access. So usually that's a part-time agent, lots of moms, like people that might not be able to go full-time into real estate, but still want that support or to be part of something, right?
Yeah. And my marketing group is similar in the sense I look at the marketing group like I'm providing access to tools, resources, marketing, strategy. But as Erin mentioned, there's no deal doctoring that goes into that. And the deal doctoring, when you have a team, and anyone out here who is considering building the team, that's actually one of the biggest portions of it. Agents join my team and have historically in the past because I just get deals closed. We don't have sale fails. That comes with experience. I've seen 1,500 transactions. Boy, I've seen almost anything, right? And so the deal doctoring is a huge value proposition. And Erin mentioned earlier about the value proposition, like establishing who you are, who you want to attract, what type of agent you're looking for, and what you have to provide. I would say deal doctoring is one of the things that I promote the most. And then in the marketing group, of course, we're not talking about that because on the marketing group, the value that I'm bringing to those agents is systems that I know work. We're doing the tech component of it. We're giving them a suite of tools that they can use that have been successful for hundreds of agents before them. We're sharing marketing that we know that works. We have a community. So, I think this conversation is super important because we want you to know that team means a million different things. It's funneling it into what works for you and making sure that you're in alignment with your goals. And, it's not just about production.
And I think that that's exactly right. First and foremost, Rebecca, is that whatever these women decide to build or continue to tweak and make their own, it must make sense for you. And what worked for me at one point doesn't work for me today. And I've evolved the Ethridge team a million times, and it will continue to evolve with what works for me. I do wish that somebody would have stopped me early on, though. Like, can we just talk commission? Because compensation of the team leader, what I originally thought, remember I was telling you guys that I brought in my 5 friends and I'm like, oh, you can just pay me 10%. Like it's good. Anything's okay kind of a thing. While those 5 agents started taking more and more of my time away. And then I wasn't making as much on the production side. Right. And I wish that somebody would have stopped me. So this is me stopping you and say, if you are not charging a minimum of 30% for a team member, if you are running a medium-sized team, right, or a mega team, along with anything that if you're using your time or resources,
Right.
because a truly profitable business, you must make 22%, like 22%. And the only way to do that is averaging that 30% per deal. So how I do that is on their transactions is 30%, but some of them are going to be 50-50 because I've provided that deal for them. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think just as this slide says, one thing to remember, like Erin talked about mistakes, one of the mistakes I made is we were doing, consistently 70, 80, $100 million a year. I was very focused on production and very focused on GCI. And that's not where you should focus your energy. You should focus your energy on the profitability. I come across a lot of agents that are doing 70, $80 million a year. And you think, whoa, that's got to be, huge income, but their profit margins are incredibly low. And again, adding team members quickly increases your expenses. And so those are things you really have to pay attention to going into it and then regularly revisit, because sometimes we just get on that hustle bus and we get on the busy bus and we forget to stop and look and pay attention to those things. The other thing, as Erin mentioned, and we have on this slide, your team has to pay you first, right? Because why else would you do it? And one thing that it's kind of strange, but you're going to, as a team lead, I had an agent come to me just the other day. She's a new agent. I don't normally take new agents. And she said, hey, I would like to maybe talk to you about lowering my fees until, I've had a year in the business. And I said, oh gosh, I can't do that because I can't be in the negative, right? And our fee structure is already super advantageous and the value that you're getting is really high. I understand where you are. But at the end of the day, I know that my business, I run multiple businesses, but I know that it costs me $144,968 a year to run my 3 businesses, right? You cannot do things for people for free. No. And as a team lead, agents will come to you all the time and say, oh gosh, I don't think I want to pay that monthly fee. That's okay. You don't have to pay that monthly fee. You can actually structure your own business and run your own business and pay your own expenses. But that is something that, protect yourself, protect the income. And it might sound a little bit harsh or hardcore. I don't mean it from that perspective. We've all seen a lot of agents, myself included, Erin included, where you're like, at the end of the day, holy cow, how did I spend all of that money? And your time is your most valuable asset. So if you are spending your time with agents, that has to actually, because you could be out selling real estate, right? Just like Erin mentioned, I was spending too much time here. My actual sales diminished. And that is an offset on income. And so just be super conscientious about that.
Yeah, because the first 2 years of me running my team, you guys, I didn't even realize it until I sat down with my CPA and he was doing all my books. And he's like, Erin, I got to ask, like, do you like running this like nonprofit? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? I didn't even realize that my money that I was earning, because I was a top 1% realtor, right? I was earning this money and the team was not bringing in enough to cover expenses. And they were for the team. That wasn't for me. I already knew what I was doing.
Right.
So the math must math is first and foremost, exactly to Rebecca's point, is that you also underestimate what it's going to cost you to grow. For those of you ladies that are looking to tweak your business or to scale, how much do you think it costs to have a coach come in, or a manager, right? A sales manager? Those people are $100,000. If you're not bringing in, or more, right? If you're not bringing in or have your splits correct, there's no way possible that you can keep providing different services or improve your systems, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a comment down here. You're saying everything that I've been experiencing has happened to me. I love that. We've been around a few blocks. We've done the team, we've run teams in a number of different ways. And so, these are the kinds of conversations that we're going to continue to have inside of She Builds teams.
Right.
Okay, Erin.
Because I think some of the first things when you're setting up your team that, again, I wish somebody would have told me is, first and foremost, how are you going to, where are you going to house all of this? So I have a team intranet. It's called My Hub. We're actually moving it over to Google. So Google has just a client facing, I think it's free part of your I don't know.
Google workspace.
Yeah, your Google. It's a Google website now. So we're moving all of our stuff over to there. But essentially, I started off with Google Drive, and that's horrible because nobody knows what I named something. And then people start editing it, and I'm like, no, that's the real copy, right? It's just not going to work for anyone long term. It's really hard to search. So you're going to want to have an intranet where it's like, hey, here's all the scripts, or when you get a buyer, here's all the steps. When you get a seller, here's the steps. Here's all of our paperwork, right? You're going to want to have a place where that's housed first and foremost. And then next, you're going to have to have something where you can communicate. Is that Slack? Is it a Facebook channel? It sounds good in theory to just have a texting group chat, but let me just tell you, you can't search it properly. You can't, it starts to get too many voices, and then people get really upset that they're trying to run a business and it's going off the whole time, right? So these are some of the other things that you might want to consider too, is having a VA or an in-house admin. I just switched this year from having an in-house admin of $60,000. I was able to replace that with a VA, and now that's $12,000 or $12,400 this year. So I was able to reduce that expense. But for some of you guys, it might not even be for your business. How great would it be to have a house manager that took care of the grocery shopping and picking up and dropping off the kids and making sure beds were made, and oh my gosh, all the handyman things that need done at the house just get done, right? It might not be specifically for your business. So really kind of wrap your mind around your situation and what you have going. The other thing would be that production partner, like I was telling you about. Mm-hmm. I think the micro team, I would encourage every single new team lead to have that production partner. And that's really to insulate your money and your business, because it's very easy to keep having all of these people ask you questions. Well, you only have so many hours in a day. And if you're spent, hanging out with these agents, and then you're not able to make these phone calls, well, then your business does start to dry up. So for me, it's a really good way to insulate your own business. The other thing would be, and I know Rebecca has an in-house staging. She even has as far as all of the stuff for it, right, Rebecca? That's a whole other business.
That's one of the 3 businesses that I run, which is why, part of one of our pillars is to talk to you about ancillary businesses. And so, I decided staging was really important for my business. It was also a value add. So going back to one of the earlier conversations about what's your value proposition, for me, my value proposition was deal doctoring, having great marketing and in-house staging that we're able to offer to clients at no upfront cost. So, super important to identify all of these different roles and know that there might be more to it than just the production partner or just the showing agent. But to Erin's point, going back, and we've got a question here, going back to the production partner and the showing agent, the question was, is the production partner your showing agent? You'll hear those things interchanged, those terms interchanged. It's important to establish, is it just a showing agent? Because a showing agent typically just works on the buying side, right? They're a buyer's agent, a showing agent. A production partner is really somebody who is an extension of you, in my opinion. And although I'm not in production as much as Erin is anymore, I do have a production partner. I have an agent on the team that I've been mentoring and coaching. And for the deals that I still bring in, instead of referring them to other agents on my team, she and I will work those together. And so, you know,
yeah, because Tamara, how I define the difference, because exactly what Rebecca was leading to is how I define the difference. A showing partner is somebody I might need from time to time. Like, for instance, I live in the East Valley of Phoenix, okay? It can take an hour and a half to drive to the West Valley of Phoenix. I am not going to go there or do that, right? So I would pay a showing partner or showing agent $25 an hour, or $25, 25 to 35 is the average going rate to show property. And then it can be anywhere from a 500 to a 5% bonus on anything that they actually wrote an offer, got accepted, and it went through. But that person is typically not managing that whole transaction. Like, they're just showing the home, and then you're responsible to usually write the offer, do the home inspection, do the BINSR, you know, negotiate, do the whole process. That person is usually just kind of a person to just show property, right? A production partner for me, exactly what Rebecca said, is that it's an extension of me. Like, this person knows my database inside and out. They know who my friends are. They know who my repeat clients are. They go and drop off pop-bys with them. They're physically inviting them to all of our events. We are on the same sign together. We are one brain.
Yeah.
Essentially, yes, right? So that's what my production partner is for me. So I hope.
And there are other teams that we've worked with where they have a buyer agent and then they have a listing agent. So they have somebody that works with them just on the listings and then another person who works just on the buyers. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong. It is a great kind of segue into the next topic, though. Whatever you decide, you have to have a contract in place. So whichever of the, you know, people you pull into your space, you have to make sure that, you know, the contracts are just like selling real estate. We wouldn't sell a house if we didn't have a contract. It's the place where everyone goes back to if there's a question or a concern. And everything is great, ladies, until it's not. And that's the last thing you want to have happen inside of your business. So, you know, when we talk about
oh, she froze. Where'd you go?
She's really frozen.
She's super frozen.
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Whatever the positions you decide on, you want to make sure the roles and the responsibilities are really well laid out. You also want to make sure your compensation structure is something that is very clearly identified: splits, bonuses, fees, salaries, whatever it might be. Lead ownership is another one. You know, Erin just mentioned about, we talked a little bit about the production partner being an extension of us. You still have to have in writing that any lead that started with you, that they may have interacted with, stays with you. And so lead ownership in a contract, that's one of the things that I see missing from so many contracts that I've reviewed in the past. And that's a really important one. Expectations and standards, accountability and consequences, right? You know, again, going back to no one has time to run a business for free, right? And so if standards, you know, have not been met, or if production is not at a certain level, you have to discuss the consequences up front. You know, I have a team minimum. I have a minimum number of transactions required for agents to be a part of my team. That might be something you consider also. If an agent has a really off year, and 2025 was off for some of my agents, I'm always going to have a conversation about it, but at least they know what the expectation is going in from a production standpoint. You also need a termination clause, confidentiality and non-solicitation. And then when we, you know, mentioned earlier about like, what are you providing to people? Write it down, have it a part of your contract. The systems, the tools, the resources that you provide. Does your team have access if you have a TC, or if you have an in-house admin, or if you have a VA? Does anyone, you know, does your team have access to those things, right? Are they able to use those people and use those resources? You've got to make sure it's spelled out. Okay, we had a question about willing to share the team contract. We don't have team contracts on today's mastermind, but we will be sharing somewhere along the lines of 8 to 10 different contracts and different options inside of the intensive that we're doing. The caveat is, of course, we're not lawyers. And every state is different. I've shared my contract with agents that I've mentored over the years, but always say, go to an attorney locally because, Erin, a great example. Erin and I compare notes and are chatting all of the time. What's allowed in Arizona is not allowed in Oregon most of the time, right? You guys have way more flexibility than we have here. So yes, we will be sharing some contracts, not today, but you got to make sure you run that through somebody local. So compensation plans, another part, a big part of contracts and something we get so many questions on. To Erin mentioned earlier, at a minimum, you need to be averaging 30%. I have a 15% plan, I have a 50-50 plan, and I have a 70-30 plan. I also have a 60-40 for anything that if I have a lead and I give it to an agent, it's a 60-40 split. So taking all of those things into consideration, my average collected commission for the agents on my team is 35%. And so that's in alignment with, Erin saying you've got to average that 30%. There is no right answer except you have to be profitable. That's the only, non-negotiable there. Splits actually are built after your business plan. And I know that might sound strange, but your split should be based on what you're providing. So the mega teams, for example, where they are spending, some of them, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on leads, their splits look different than my small team splits would look, right? And you don't know that until you've sat down and done your business plan. Like, what are you offering? You have to understand your expenses. You have to understand the value. And then you establish your commission splits. Where it gets a little bit wonky is when a team lead says, oh, I'm going to do, a 10%. I'm going to make so much money off of these agents because I'm going to collect 10% on everything they do. That'll be an extra $100,000 a year, right? Erin's production partner makes $100,000 a year collecting the 10%. You can't really establish if that's going to work or not if you don't understand your expenses and you don't understand what you're giving to those agents, because I can tell you that 10% in some transactions, it's $1,200. If you're paying the TC fee, for example, and your TC fee is $500, now that's $700. And then if you're paying their monthly CRM fees, for example, even if it's just $30, I think the $30 purchases here and there are the ones that kill us,
but
right?
yeah, add up. Yes.
We think, oh, no big deal. We'll just pay their CRM. It's only $30. But when you start adding that up and you have 6 or 7 agents, now all of a sudden you've got a $12,000 a year bill. So you've got to understand those things first before you establish the compensation plans, right? You also have to understand from your production standpoint, like, are you going to continue to produce? And what does that look like? Are you looking to shift some of your business to other agents on the team, like I've been doing over the last 3 years, and what does that look like? But compensation plans, again, we're going to cover quite a lot of conversation about that. And inside of the intensive, we're actually going to help attendees build their complete compensation plan out. Okay, systems and operations. I know we've mentioned this a lot, and Erin touched base on you've got to have like that central repository, but I can't stress this one enough. Systems and operations, while you say those words to a real estate agent and immediately they think lots of 4-letter words because operations are not sexy. I get it. I get asked to speak at events all the time about operations, and I always follow like the marketing guy who's like full of flash and all of this jazz and like, look at this, isn't this great? And I'm like, wah, wah, wah. I'm going to talk to you about your operations. But they actually create freedom. And at the end of the day, building a team and having a long-term plan should be about creating some freedom for yourself, right? Creating some time freedom, creating some financial freedom, and understanding that if your business stops when you leave, you don't actually have a business, you have a job. So systems and structure help fix that. And let's just go back to who you hire, what you offer them, and all of that. If you are running a team and you are still responsible for 90% of the money coming in, then I would say that team structure needs a revamp, right? So your business plan should look, if you're in production, your team's production, right? And you need to establish a healthy split or a healthy percentage of what is what. So for example, at one point my production was 2/3 of the income coming in on my team, and the 5 agents on my team were 1/3. I immediately recognized that's not the business I wanted to run. I wanted it to be the exact opposite, where the income coming in was 2/3 generated from my team and 1/3 of my own. Because a lot of team leaders are out there doing $100 million a year, but they are literally responsible and managing $96 million a year in that production. And you don't want to be in that situation. So be really conscientious about that. And systems help you with that. And the structure helps you with that.
But that's also, Rebecca, like why I love like what we're doing, and what I want each of these women to know is you need to build a team, if you haven't already, one way or another, right? And that's why we're speaking to every single woman in real estate, right? Is because we just think that we can and should do it all, right? But there will come a point in time in your business, in your season, where you might not want to work with buyers and sellers anymore, or where you're asking, how can I make more money or diversify my time? So you're exactly right on all of these different systems, for sure.
And at some point it breaks, right? Mm-hmm. At some point something has to give. So you either have to, if you don't have a team or you don't have a structure in place to scale, you have to decide you're only taking on X amount of clients. Right. You have, and unfortunately, in our DNA is I can do it, I can add it, I can handle it, right? And a lot of us have handled it really well over the years, but there are only 24 hours in the course of a day. And hopefully we're getting a little bit of sleep inside of that 24-hour bucket. But that goes back to something I said earlier about team can mean lots of things. It could just mean an admin and a TC. It doesn't have to mean other agents. That's just, again, part of your business plan. But you should really have support, or you should be in a situation where you're going to cap out at 24 deals a year and that's it, or whatever that number is, where the things around you aren't breaking. So inside of real estate, we often find that marketing is overdeveloped and operations are often underdeveloped, right? And so the marketing is the sexy part, the operations are not, right? But your marketing efforts will be far more successful if you have the operations running in the back end to actually close the deals, continue to work people that are in your pipeline. And these are all things that you should think about before bringing other agents into your space. Like, how are you going to set those up? What does that look like? How are you going to structure that? And what are you offering to the agents? If you're not interested in really providing any of this to the agents, there are team structures that still work, much like a marketing group, as Erin mentioned, she calls it the indie group. She still provides them with some operations, but it's a little bit less than, building out big business systems. At the end of the day, consistency in your processes are kind of non-negotiable too, right? That repetition inside of your processes creates confidence, and the team consistency elevates the quality of services and creates such a strong brand identity that it should help you add agents over time, right? Our systems and processes ended up leading me to 10 agents that were referred to me. I've actually never recruited agents. I have always just gotten referrals for agents looking for a team, or agents have picked up the phone directly based on our interactions in a transaction or interactions with somebody on my team. And so, that comes from the consistency in the process, and that repetition allows your agents to move in a more confident way. Erin mentioned, new agents. And I don't dislike new agents. I shouldn't have said, oh no, I don't want new agents. I've mentored and coached a ton of new agents. And at that place in my career, I loved it. Things change, we evolve. And so at this stage, I want an agent who's been in the business a couple of years because they understand a lot, right? Erin mentioned you get a new agent, they don't know what escrow means, right? Every term is something new to them. And so, giving your agents, circling back to giving your agents processes that they can feel confident in is going to help from a management standpoint and from a leadership standpoint, but it's also going to help them get more deals closed. So super important there.
Because one of the things that I did, Rebecca, and why I still love new agents, do they take longer to get up and running? Are they sometimes super annoying? Yes. But what we did on our team and what these women should consider using is Loom videos. If you have to repeat yourself more than 2 times ever on anything, I'm talking how to pull comps, how to write an offer, you record it on the Loom video, and you just have this library, and the admin can, if they're like, hey, how do I pull comps? And then my admin just is like, did you check the Loom library? Or here you go, and sends them the Loom. Right. So sure. Everything's already been set up. And that's the same thing for my TC, for my showing partner, for production partner. I meant everything has a video behind commonly asked questions so that they can also reference it if it's 10 o'clock at night. No, I am not trying to write an offer with a new agent then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's also is like a really big deal for me.
Yeah. And yes, 100%. We have the same thing inside of my business. And for everyone here, think about if you're new to team building or you are considering it, start recording things now. It takes no extra work to pop the Loom on, or you can do it with a screen clipping tool, lots of different ways to do it. It takes no extra time to actually turn that on. Oh, there goes my camera. Sorry, everybody. It takes no extra time to turn those things on and start building the library where you can show other people. Caveat there, just make sure you save them with a name that you're going to remember or that somebody else might search. Okay, technology, we want you to streamline your tools to scale. Technology should make your life easier, not more complicated, right? Before you add new tools, you should evaluate what you already have. And if there are problems that they're solving, if not, maybe you need to make a change. But I think agents in general, when you're a solo agent, you can change whatever because it's just you. From experience, your team is not going to want constant change. That's going to create anarchy. It also creates so much more work for you because you have to retrain everybody on the new systems. So be thoughtful about the systems that you have in place that you'll extend to your team, beforehand. So what kind of systems are we talking about? CRM, email marketing platform, contract and transaction management, communication platform, project management, centralized storage, accountability, performance tracking. This might sound like a lot, but we're going to help you simplify what tools to use where you can do several of these things inside of one platform. Appointment scheduling, recruiting and onboarding, marketing creation, asset management tools. When we go back to the thought of, oh, I just need a person because I'm so crazy busy, you also have to recognize that when you're doing something on your own, again, it doesn't matter if you're logging into 16 different places because it's all in your mind. You know exactly where to get it. As soon as you have another person who has to find, say, your flyer template, right? You don't want to have to answer that question 74 times. And, you know, you don't want to have to do it for them. You don't want to have that one-on-one conversation with them. So really having a guide or having a booklet or answering these questions as you're creating your team contract or your team Bible, so to say, it's just an important element in the process and something we cover, you know, quite a bit as we go through, you know, the She Builds Intensive, which I'm going to let Kristen talk to you a little bit about that.
Awesome. So if you guys are like, I really, really want to dive deeper, we'll talk about this more at the end, but just know that we do have an 8-week or a 16-week, 8-module intensive coming up, launching on January 27th. So I won't give away all the details. I'll go over it more, but if you're like, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. The best part about going into a coaching program, you guys, is that you're not doing this alone. You're doing it with, one, people that have done it. And secondly, you're literally building along other women that are doing the same thing. So your community of people building teams starts to expand. So when you're like having a shit day as a team leader, you can pick up the phone and call all the other team leaders that you've met inside of this ecosystem. So just a little bit about that, but I'll tell you more at the end.
Yeah, real quick, you want to talk a little bit about our coaches?
Oh, we're doing all of this. Yes.
Just a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more about who they are.
Well, what I love about this is a lot of the coaches are my friends, and I've gotten to know all of them so well, almost all of them. And so I can like personally tell you and vouch for them that I would want to learn from these girls if I was building a team. So Mindy Jones, she is exactly what to say certified. She's basically like Phil M. Jones, like go-to real estate agent. She's in rooms with him all the time. If you guys don't know who that is, he wrote the book Exactly What to Say, and he has a real estate edition, and it's amazing. Her communication style is next level. Amy Youngren runs an amazing team out of Canada, and she's just so abundant and such a great time. Raquel Quinnett, she coaches team leaders that have like 600 team members on them. So she can talk anywhere from those micro teams to those extreme mega teams. Tara is one of our partners inside of Moms in Real Estate she's kind of like Rebecca in the sense that like she's the best systems person and can really talk to you about all of those things. Katie Day, I don't know yet. I can't wait to get to know her because I've had a lot of people tell me how great she is, and I do follow her on Instagram. She's great at social media and all kinds of stuff too. So we're really excited to bring her into this ecosystem. And then you guys all know Randy. She's like the yin to my yang in Moms in Real Estate, and another systems queen. Like I don't even know how to use StreamYard. If she's not here right now. And I'm like, I can't believe we're using this because if I didn't have Angelica, I wouldn't know what to do, but she knows how to do so many different things. And what's cool about Randy in a different perspective is that her team is a nationwide team. So thinking like, am I building a local team, or even thinking like maybe I'm going to do a team that is nationwide and not have the restraints of your guys' local market. She'll give you guys that perspective along with so much more.
Ultimately, we just wanted to make sure that inside of the intensive, we were bringing you as many voices as possible. But the caveat there is that we're really not just idea based here. We want to actually talk ideas and strategy, but we want those ideas to turn into income. In order for the ideas to turn into income, you need the implementation. And so we do cover a ton of implementation. We will be covering that inside of the intensive, which is, I think, one of the biggest things. Who here has attended great webinars, great seminars, paid for great coaching, and you're like, great, now what? How do I actually make this all happen, right? And so that's a big part of what we'll be doing inside of the intensive. Okay, branding that attracts the right people. We're going to talk just a little bit about this, but branding from a different level. We're not talking about branding as a creative experience or exercise. We're really talking about as a business decision. So what do we mean by that? Every branding decision actually flows into your operations, your commission plan, your expenses, your recruiting, and your retention. The branding is actually part of the value proposition, and it also is part of your guidelines and your framework for the team. So for example, on a branding front, all of my agents are required to use the @Selling Portland Real Estate email address. Erin has set it up differently. Those were branding decisions that we made, at some point in our team building journey. So we are going to walk agents in the intensive through, how to establish those guidelines and what it is most what works for them, right? For me, it was more of, it wasn't a control thing. I just wanted my agent partners that were working with my clients. I just wanted that ease of understanding and remembering and knowing email addresses. Again, no right or wrong decision, but it is part of the marketing that you should establish up front. You should also intentionally decide how you want your team to show up in the market, right? So Erin chose Erin Ethridge, and I'm going to let you actually talk a little bit about that, whereas I chose not to use my name for my real estate team.
Yeah. So when I had decided, first and foremost, remember, I just decided in a flash, right? And then secondly, Google at that time said that people trust family names more because it's kind of like the law firms are always like Stratton and Stratton, right? And like the Etheridge, like Erin Ethridge and the Erin Ethridge team, right? Like, so in my opinion, that's just it was easy to do that. And because it wasn't trademarked, right? So that was easy for me, but I totally love and respect, because there's a certain amount of agents, right, that don't want to be on the Etheridge team because they don't want my name, even though it's well recognized in the area. But they would love to be part of Selling Portland. What is it?
Yeah, Selling Portland Real Estate was what I decided.
Portland Real Estate, totally. Yeah. Where they like the name of it. And then, yes, to Rebecca's point, she chose to do hey, you have to use this email address. And mine, I wanted the freedom for my agents to be able to brand themselves. They must brand with the Etheridge team, and they must use my colors on the signs and all of the paperwork and everything. But I wanted them to brand themselves, because if you look at any big corporations, they have 3 or 4 different logos and branding next to it. You just don't notice it because Coca-Cola is the biggest one, let's say, right? So I allowed them to brand, but they are required to use my number that I provide for team leads and for all of the leads coming in, and their personal ones. So basically it's connected to the CRM. And again, it's not a control thing. Well, maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe it's a titchy touch of a control thing, but really it's because you get a call and you're in your car and you totally forget to call this person back that did a sign call on something. And then that person just goes off and you don't ever follow up with that person. We were losing money by not having these recorded calls and where we can circle back to them and where a task gets created for them. But I wanted them to create their own email. I require them to not have a Gmail. So what I mean by that is it can't just say like Erin@gmail.com. It must say whatever their name is, .com.
A vanity. Yeah, it had to be a vanity URL. And then just tapping into the signs, all of my agents have to use my signs. And then also, but they do have sign writers that have their name and telephone number on them. Again, no right or wrong. These were just decisions that we made somewhere along the line. And so we want to bring those front and center, because it's not something that you necessarily think about until an agent says, oh, I want a different sign, right? Like you just don't think about those things until it comes up. So the branding, and you can see how that is a branding and marketing element, but it actually ties into your contracts. And so that's something, again, when it's just you, doesn't matter. You can make changes, but when you have a team, you've got to identify these things up front. No right or wrong. We just want to, bring those things front and center. Same thing goes for signs, business cards, marketing elements, buyer's guides, seller's guides. How do you want those things handled? They're just decision-making decisions that you have to make at some point.
Yeah, so back to attracting standards and vision, it's also when you already, and some of you ladies already have an established team, but what happens is that once you get that new team member up and running, it's always when they hit the 5 or 6 million mark or 2 years or longer on the team before they're like, well, what the heck do I need this lady for? Right? Which in my opinion, I am providing a lot more. They'll have to pay for those things outside of it. But where teams fail is that they don't have a clear path for like runway of like the next step. Like maybe you can get a showing partner, or we do a 50-50 part of your showing partner or production partner or whatever that might be. Or I think, Rebecca, you have a tier system, right?
Yeah.
So sell 24 homes, you get this, you pay this. Yeah. If you sell 48, you get this, right?
Yeah.
To keep people around longer. But
yeah, and there is, to your point about what happens when you've coached somebody up, right? Like you've brought them to a place where they're like, oh, goodness, I don't need the team anymore. You're going to have that. So just set yourself up and know that that's going to happen. But, you are also, I have an agent that's been with me for 13 years. Mm-hmm. Right. That's a really long time in the business. It is setting yourself up for, helping agents figure out what the next step is. And that tiered commission plan gives them something to continually work towards. And also, I would say a lot of agents love the team structure where they don't have to worry about all the $30 here and there. They don't have to worry about all of those fees. And also, we're training admin and we're training support teams for them, which is huge. And so, just being confident and understanding your value proposition should help with the retention component. But you've got to make sure.
Yeah. So following up on that real quick is that like when you sit down and figure out what kind of team you want and the why behind it, it's kind of more of like, if you want like, let's say, okay, I only want agents that, sell 8 million or more. I want like the Navy SEALs, right? Well, you have the Navy first to create the Navy SEALs, right? So there's a certain amount of people that come on that you train that are running behind the scenes in order to create that. But also once you get enough people, and I think it's usually the 10, 12 mark is where this starts happening, is that you'll get people that are selling, 3 million, and then you'll have a 15 or 20 million producer, and a donkey doesn't want to run with a horse, right? Mm-hmm. Like they want special treatment. They want to be alongside another horse, right? Because if they're only, like looking down or helping the people next to them, of course they don't want to stay for very long, right?
And also to tap into that, the three of us were on a call with a team lead last week, and she has a $24 million producer. Ladies, does that sound about right? Yeah, who's really sucking all the resources. In her mind, bringing that top producer onto the team was huge because it meant a lot of volume. And this goes back to volume doesn't necessarily mean profit, right? So she was really excited about bringing this top producing agent on, only to realize, and she thought the top producing agent has been doing 40 deals a year, 40, 50, like 40 plus deals a year. So she's not going to need much. She's going to be self-sufficient. So I can also bring her on at a low split. the team lead quickly recognized that the low split, even though her volume was there, was not profitable because this agent actually was sucking resources. And her expectations were, the donkey and the horse analogy, was that everyone else here is a donkey and I'm your thoroughbred, so I'm going to get everything and your admin team is going to do it all for me. And the team lead was like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? It was a bit of a pickle.
Yeah. So you kind of have to, because what I would say to that, you guys, is I believe in having standards as far as like, here's my team agreement. This is this, like everyone's treated fairly. Because the second that you're making exceptions here and there, that starts spreading like wildfire, right? However, I think it's very important. Our job in real estate is always to put a deal together, right? So sometimes if we were to negotiate on a contract and somebody just says, no, like that's not helpful, right? So if somebody said, hey, I'm thinking about leaving the team because I'm bringing in all this money, right? And you only have all these new agents. I really want my own assistant. How can we look at it differently as leaders? What I would say to that is like, how can we say yes? So it should be a yes, I would love to do that for you. When you do XYZ, then let's put that together, right? Yeah. They have to have a reachable or an obtainable goal where that makes sense for both of you, but find a way to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And just to tap into that, when we start making lots of edits and changes, we start to get confused. So we are not remembering what we've offered people, which is, again, going back to that tiered system is something I like. But to Erin's point, my tiered system resets at the beginning of every year for agents that have consistently produced year over year. I don't roll them back at the beginning of the next year. So I'll start them at the higher tier. So yes, to Erin's point, we all negotiate contracts for a living. We're going to do some negotiation inside of the team, but I would caution you not to change for every single person because then you're just getting confused and you have a system where you don't have a system. You have one-off deals with agents and somewhere along the line, it's going to bite you in the backside because one agent's going to tell the other agent what they're getting and no one wants that. Okay. So we've kind of talked about this, but Erin, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, I think that hiring out of pain leads to misalignment where I feel very strongly where I've also hired wrong people or I'm just like, oh, I know that they're really part-time, but I want to help them, right? And then they were such a huge pain in the ass or a total time waste that I spent all of these hours training them and then they didn't even sell a deal before they left the team, right? And that goes the same for your admin. You can spend a ton of time training an admin, and then if you don't set up the Loom videos and the systems as you're doing it that first time, you're going to end up doing that again and again. And it's basically, as a team leader, our job is to really like look into the future 12 months of like, what am I going to need, right, for my team? Like, do I need to bring on a sales manager? Do I need to bring on more agents in order to make my business more profitable? Or like myself, like scaling back some of those agents, like some of the agents that were only selling, under 2 million on my team needed to go because they were bringing down some of my other agents, right? And that's all to standards and what you have on your team agreement.
Something that you just said made me think about, you said agents coming and going quickly. There are some contract components that you can add in that eases the pain of that a little bit. For example, I have a $750 onboarding fee for any agent that joins my team. I charge them that upfront. I am willing to break it up into 3 payments, but not 3 sales. It could be broken up into 3 months, but I do charge that up front. The other thing is for termination under a year. I have a clause in my contract that agents will be responsible for $5,000. It's not a lot. It doesn't cover all of the time, but $5,000 termination fee under a year or under a certain number of transactions if they terminate under the year. So there are things that you can.
So I don't have that. I'm learning things every time I talk to Rebecca. So I do have the onboarding fee because I'm spending this money with these. They're sitting with my VAs and with my team trainer to get onboarded. So that $750 is covering that. But that's even better if you leave under a year. There's no problem, but sign this, right?
Yes.
That's good.
So there's a termination fee. And then the other fee structure, just to tap into based on what Erin was saying, I also have a $395 per transaction that agents can actually charge to their buyers or their sellers. That rolls up to the team. It does cover some expenses. And so there are, this is why it's so important to have your business plan laid out before you start with your agent contracts and or your commission splits. And there are a lot of different fees other than just a 70-30 split that are important to talk about.
Right.
Okay.
This one I just had for training that hire for culture and clarity and train through systems is you want to have watch me, and then the hardest one that we have to do is the watch you. I absolutely hate watching somebody screw up the script so badly, but it's very important. And then watch me, and then watch you, and then they go out on their own. Right. Yeah. Once they've perfected it, that's when they're able to go out on their own and do that. And then magnetize through your messaging. Are you a small team that gets one-on-one attention? Are you a mega team that has all of these leads? Like, who are you? But don't just change from one because one agent wants something. So one of my friends came to me and she's like, oh my gosh, I wanted to attract this top producing agent and she wanted a better split and she wanted me to provide leads. So I did, but now I'm drowning in this bill every month and she's not calling the leads. Like, don't move for somebody else, right? Again, it comes down to what is important to you. And just super stand your ground on what you've built, because otherwise it's a recipe for disaster to go off of what somebody else might want. And then just be clear on expectations, right? Even with your admin, they should know how they win. Like an admin, a TC, any of those people should make you double whatever you're paying them. So if I'm paying my admin $60,000, $120,000 a year, they should be able to free up my time or to bring in other money with referrals or whatever is mapped out. They should know how they're winning. Same thing for agents is that they came to you with a belief and to understand that the value that you sold them on, and you just need to have that follow through. Did everybody freeze here? I'm the only one.
Sorry, we froze there. So for anyone who didn't hear that, Erin, that's been the one thing in other masterminds where people have thought, oh my gosh, I had never thought about that. Can you repeat that? Your admin, if you're paying, so just in case anyone missed it, if you pay your admin or an agent or somebody on your team, your $60,000, your expectation is what?
Right.
That they double that salary. They
have to double the salary. So for instance, my last admin, he was trying to, he failed at it, which is why he was released, right? He was supposed to be helping with recruiting. And by recruiting, I'm not looking for him to cold call agents. I was looking for him to email them. I provided the list for him, email market agents that were selling under 2 million in my market and get them to different events, email and text them. You would think that that's a very easy task. It doesn't hurt anything. But he just didn't want to do it? And if he did do it, right, how much more could I have brought in talent wise based off of that? So that was a standard for myself. Yes. I have different notes on this one, Rebecca. I'm on a different role here. I don't know.
Well, we could go right into it. I know you know how to speak to this one. Culture without accountability isn't culture.
Totally. It's absolute chaos. You have people disrespect. I had friends that would just disrespect me showing up late to meetings, which I absolutely can't stand, because that means that they're showing up late to clients that they weren't doing. We have a standard where they have to make a minimum of 50 phone calls. Also, anytime that somebody speaks negatively or like, oh, if I win this listing, like my whole team will respond back, when you win the listing, right? Like that is a culture. That's part of that culture. But it has to become ingrained in that, where even in my team chat, I don't want new agents responding, even if they know the answer to something. I want one of my seasoned agents responding to a new agent's question, right? That's a culture, just something that we've created, because otherwise, I mean, you can end up with chaos very quickly if you don't have those rules in place. But more importantly is actually enforcing those rules. And that's what's hard.
Without a doubt. And that's the leadership component. You know, we have a lot of agents that come to us and say, I want a team. And when you start talking about the leadership component, they're like, I don't want anything to do with that. Or they are so passionate about the leadership component and so excited about it, but they still don't understand all of the different nuances that go into it. And yes, I mean, the last thing you want is, I'm sure somebody here has been in a brokerage situation where the culture was awful, right? Teams are so much more intimate. You want to make sure that that's definitely not the case. You want to make sure that you have a group of people who are willing to participate and willing to help other people, inside.
Yes. And for a team leader, I do think it should be the quarterly calls with each person, or maybe it's once a month with each person if you have a very small team, right? And then a PIP, it's a personal improvement plan. If they have fallen behind the standards, you have to allow them the option to go to work or not. And I'm not talking about bringing back the amount like, oh, you must close 2 deals. How I have my PIP set up is I want to see them get back on track with the work effort, right? Like you are going to call 50 people this week. You are going to have 2 or 3 open houses this week. Like everything is laid out for them, and it's not to be mean. It is for them to make the money that they told me they wanted to make, right?
Erin, can you tell everyone what PIP stands for?
The personal improvement plan. So it's basically like a write-up in a nice way. It's like, you suck. Now let me tell you how we're gonna fix it.
Okay, that would be what not to do. We also cover a lot of what not to do. That would fall into what not to do. Okay. This is not great leadership.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, here's a question. Starting out, how would you know what their salary should be if they're new? Do you mean for a new agent, or do you mean for an admin? I'm going to assume you mean for a new agent. Let's talk about that first. If it's a brand new agent, the splits should to the team lead be much higher, because basically you're giving them an education, and education is expensive. And all of you have likely spent more money than you realize in your own personal development. And so when you bring a new agent on, you're sharing all of that knowledge, all of that experience, and also all of the money that you've invested in learning the business yourself. So for new agents, it's a minimum, in my opinion, of 50-50, but a lot of new agents, a lot of team leads bring new agents in at 60-40, where the team lead is maintaining 60%, the agent is getting 40%. Some people bring them in, like Erin brought them in as a the 10%. Some team leads will coach and mentor an agent for their agent partner and start them at 10% and then do a graduated scale. So I don't know that there's a right or a wrong answer to that, what you would bring somebody in at, but know that new agents are way more time consuming, and the value for them is that they're learning from you, right? They are gleaning all of your knowledge. So that is not inexpensive. And then for an admin, I think admin fees are very different, across the country. From an admin standpoint, I've had high salaries. Personally, I made the decision 3 years ago to go completely commission-based for anyone on my team except for my VA. Whereas in the past, I had payroll, I had $165,000 in payroll. And I just decided I didn't want that as a part of my business plan anymore. Erin, you've had a combination of salary and commission.
Yeah, I've definitely had both. And I firstly think starting on Glassdoor of what is local for your area, what is the standard going rate for that, but also who is the type of person that you're attracting for that role. Like some of the best production partners and showing partners are actually not realtors that are current. They are actually teachers or servers.
Right.
Is what we're finding in the industry is that if somebody is a hustling like server, that they're actually an excellent production partner that could even go off of just that percentage versus that salary role. So it just kind of really depends on your local area as well as who you're trying to recruit, because you and I would look at each other of like, well, what realtor would work for that, kind of a thing, where that's not actually real. There's a lot of people that will work for that money and that they love the idea of having a base. Maybe you could have a low base and then a higher commission. Like let's say it was also in the sales world, we do a lot of kickers. So what I mean by that is like, let's say it's $2,000 a month, but then you get a 15% commission then, let's say, on any deals that closes. I do have a kicker on mine, and a kicker just means that at over 20 million, once I do my normal amount of production, over 20 million, she gets an additional 5% on every single deal, which she's absolutely thrilled with. You see what I'm saying? So you can do it however makes sense for you and your business. But I would say if you are going to do a salary for anything, you need to have 3 months of that salary just in a savings someplace, or you will absolutely have that panic attack. You will.
Yeah.
There will be a month where you're like, oh, I don't know if I can make payroll. And that's not cute.
Yeah, and one thing, I think that agents, I've seen a lot of agents starting teams out, and they so undercut themselves and the value that they're bringing. We've made mistakes. And, I know that I've undercut value at different points in my career. You don't want to do that, right? You want to understand your worth. Just like when you go into a listing appointment, you really have to understand your value and your worth. And so that comes into play when you're establishing a cut or a salary for a team member or an agent. Here's another thing to remember. Lots of people, like Erin said, well, who's going to work for that? Lots of people literally just don't want to be in isolation in this business.
Right.
And being a solo agent can be a lonely road to hoe, right? Like a lot of agents really appreciate, and this goes back to the culture being such an important pillar. A lot of agents really appreciate the camaraderie. They appreciate the connection. They appreciate that there's a bat line to somebody that can help them with a contract. They appreciate that if they're sick, somebody else is going to step right in and the client's going to get exactly the same experience. And so, know that too, that some agents are willing to maybe do a little bit less income wise than they could potentially do if they were running their own business. But we all know getting the business is the hard part. And if you've been in the business for X amount of years and you have that database and you're willing to share it with people, there's huge value in that. So don't undercut yourself. Okay, so pillar 8, ancillary businesses and services, and how can that play into growth? We mentioned a little bit that I run a staging company inside of my real estate business and have done so for 10 years now. It's a hugely profitable part of the business that I run. Erin's going to talk to you in just a minute about some of the ancillary services that she's added. The one thing that we would say here is you don't want to scale too fast. You don't want to add additional services too soon, because if you're not prepared, it can really lead to disruption and it can kill culture and definitely kill profit. So make sure you are sensitive about the timing for adding new things to your team or to your income stream. But there are a lot of ancillary businesses inside of real estate that we're excited to explore with everyone, because I don't think it's spoken about enough. And
no,
Erin,
I think I know when I talk to other team leaders, they're like, you're making how much? What? How do I do that? You know, so I don't think that it's talked about. And there's lots of different ways, everything from title, from mortgage, from insurance, and also like staging and things like that. There's other ways to make money in real estate. And first and foremost, before we go too far, please check with your state. And I am not an attorney and I am not giving you financial advice, but basically I added mortgage onto mine. So how I set that up is my husband is the branch manager. He doesn't know anything about mortgages, mind you. And we are getting paid off of every single deal that we bring to this lender that I personally have chosen. So that alone added, I want to say that it was $65,000 or $70,000 more of income this year. Of course, is based off of volume. It doesn't make sense to do something like that unless you can bring enough deals over to that lender, because that lender is giving a discount and that discount is going to you, part of that discount, and then part of it is coming from the actual company. And what people don't realize is a RESPA is a this for that, like you can't do this for that, right? But can my husband be a W-2 employee of a mortgage company and he be bonused off of whatever this lender makes? Absolutely. Like there's lots of different ways around things, right? Yes. So there's lots of different ways around things without getting into any kind of RESPA violation. Now, do you have to disclose this? 100%. And inside of the She Builds Intensive, I'm going to share what I have as far as a affiliated business disclosure, because I have it for one form for both the mortgage and the title. So title, there's two ways. Again, it depends on your state. Rebecca's not able to. It super sucks for her. But for me in Arizona, I am allowed to either be partner of a title company, or I can get paid a moxie for advertising for that title company. So my title company pays me $24,000 a year to advertise their services on my website. I have to maintain a certain amount of leads coming through that because it's counted as marketing dollars. Does that make sense? So those are some of the ones that I personally have added. I'm looking into insurance. It just hasn't penciled out well. But if you think about how many times we refer out insurance, I mean, there has to be a way to get paid off of that, right? I just haven't liked the situations that I've found so far. So that one's to be continued, but Rebecca's really got this eye and she's got somebody for her staging business. I don't have anyone like that. And I don't want to take on a storage unit of stuff. So that won't be one that I add, but she loves that. And her daughter loves that. So perfect.
Because your ancillary services also provide value to your agents. So, in-house lending, in-house title, in-house staging, it's also something for you to attract to, because not all other team leads have that. And there are a bunch of different ancillary services. Mortgage, Erin mentioned mortgage, real brokerage, for example, you can actually be a part of mortgage and make money off of that. If you're in the right structure, just being in a position where you're benefiting from agent attraction, things like that. The ancillary services is something, Erin mentioned $60,000, $70,000. Staging, we've consistently profited $80,000 to $120,000 a year on the staging, because although it's a service that our clients don't have to pay for up front, we do collect a portion of the commission that goes directly towards the staging expense. So, for example, if we charge a 3.5% commission, there is a percentage of the total commission that goes towards the staging. So the staging is a fully functioning business in and of itself. And lots of different ways to generate that additional income, but we pull it into how that actually helps you with your team. And one of the most important parts of that is auditing it quarterly and expanding only what's proven, but also watching your profits and your attrition. For example, our staging, every agent on my team uses our staging. Every single one on every single listing, the attrition is 100%. If the staging wasn't good and no one was using it, it wouldn't be a good business decision. So that's the caveat also about, bringing new income sources.
Right.
And then also benefits to your team.
Yeah, because that's different reasons of why somebody would join Rebecca's team versus mine.
Right.
And she's like, oh my gosh, I have this. What? I spend a fortune on providing this or whatever, right? Like that's an in-house benefit for these agents for sure. And for me, I wanted to handpick my lender and I wanted to handpick my title person. And I would say 90% of deals are going to those people. I get more from title also. So I'm at 100 and whatever a year in ancillary businesses, but I also get more for title per event. I will never throw an event and pay for it ever. Sponsors are going to pay for that event. And I actually learned it from Kristen. So shout out to Kristen, where I have different tiers. It's like, oh, hey, here's a home inspection company. Here's a home warranty company. Like I'll only have one per event, but it's $250 for you get your name mentioned on our sign for this, up to $1,000. And the $1,000 one will get the whole list. Will get mentioned on social media 5 different times and emailed out to the clients a total of 3 different times during that time period, thanking the sponsors and being able to interact and be part of my event. But I will never throw a movie theater event, a pumpkin patch party, and those are all $3, $4, $5 grand a piece, right? Why would I pay for that personally?
I love that. Okay, Kristen, you're up.
All right. So if you want, these are the 8 pillars that you guys are going to see. Obviously, we just went through all of them, but these are the 8 pillars that we're really going to focus on in the intensive as well. Do you want to go to the next slide, Rebecca?
Yeah.
All right, so this is going to be like, hopefully you guys are able to drop in the chat. Sometimes we're able to take you guys off mute if we're on Zoom, but because we're using StreamYard, we are not. So if you guys can drop in the chat, like what are the 4 pillars after going through that you're like, I feel solid on those? Or what are some of your bottom ones? And what are your guys' key takeaways? And what questions can we answer for you?
Yeah, I'll put the 8 pillars back up so everyone can see.
Yeah, I definitely want to know key takeaways, because the more that you talk to other team leaders, they feel the same pain and speak the same language. And if anyone is on this and it sounds like we're speaking Spanish, you for sure need to be part of She Builds. And it is because you don't know what you don't know, and you have to take it step by step. But to Rebecca's point also is that we didn't want to create another course or another event that you just go to and nothing happens from it. You are absolutely going to leave having these things in place because we have VAs working with you to create your your contract and your SOPs and all of these different things that we're going to talk about, that you will leave with a full system of all of these 8 pillars. And that will reduce your time from, maybe 10 years to, 6 months.
And also a ton of money.
Yeah, a ton of money, a ton of time. But of course, we have to charge for it because it's taken us so much time and so much money in order to get to some of these things, right? So it's not that we don't want to share for free, because a lot of the questions.
We also just taught not to do that as a team leader.
Not to do that.
Don't do that.
Yeah. There's also that component of when we were putting this together, we recognize there are a lot of team building programs out there. They seem to all be men led,
and we love our guys, but girls.
I know we do. But
when you're in a room of girls, it's different.
It is different. So that was one thing, but also we both looked back and thought, oh my gosh, if somebody had just shared all of this with us way back when, it would have saved us, so many gray hairs and a few wrinkles on my face for sure. But just again, that you don't know what you don't know. And Kristen and I, when we're on calls together, we're still learning things, when we talk about our contracts and whatnot. So adding in all of those other coaches and bringing their voices to the table, it's going to be next level. Super excited about it. Okay. Do we have anyone in the chat that's given us kind of any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
I don't know if on Facebook or on YouTube or anything. Okay, wait. Shanae Johnson has a question. You're all amazing for even sharing this. It's been so enlightening. Where did it go? Okay. A lot of what I have experienced has been wondering about. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Good. We do have tools and giveaways, though, today that'll help you get going.
Yes. So there's 4 resources for you showing up and investing in yourself today. These are actually so good.
So the first one is the business planning workbook. This business plan is a business plan that I've used inside of my team building for many, many years. A lot of it starts with asking yourself a lot of questions. And those things are so valuable when you start building out what you want your team to look like, right? So, just on the screenshot here, first part is a financial gut check, because running a team is not inexpensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. And we're going to talk a lot about that as well. It depends how you structure it. We're only teaching agents how to build profitable teams, but you want to make sure that your financial house is in order. So there are a lot of different questions in the business plan. It's not just I want my team to sell 36 houses a year and I want to make an average commission of $12,000 per deal. The business plan is much more than that. I skipped one. Hang on. Okay, there you go, Erin.
So the handbook is clarifying different roles for the team, expectations, and accountability. I really found that all of my new team members, along with my staff, really needed to have what that expectation looks like. Like, yes, we have freedom of speech, but I don't need you posting crazy political things on social media, like things like that. So it kind of clarifies like what exactly that they are doing, their expectations, and what that accountability might look like. Did Rebecca freeze again?
Oh, I was like, man, she's looking pretty serious right now.
Okay, sorry, I timed out there for a second. The team handbook, Erin, did you already cover the fact that every paragraph in there is based on some bad situation happening?
No, but it is true. So you guys, for instance, when and I'll share that also on my team agreement when we get into She Builds, is that, you know, I had somebody leave the team and they were like, hey, I need you to remove all of my photos from all of your listing packets and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Jigga, what? Like, I'm not going to redo all of my marketing because you're gone, sister. Well, as it turns out, I didn't have a photography release as part of my system. And this is kind of some of the things that we're just talking. These are just small little details, you ladies, of like, some of the things that are just going to save you so much time and money from that. So yes, they're all off of where we messed up. And then the 100-point week tracker is one that I absolutely love. It's what my team uses. I allow all of my team members to run their business how they want to run their business. So let's say I super love my Sphere open houses and online leads. This is still showing how many points. I don't care how you get to 100 points. I just need you to get to 100. Does that make sense? And then I know that they're going to make all of the sales, that they're going to do well in real estate. But you can have this be as simple as a Google Drive that gets text out every single day. You can have that, like, it very simple. You can have it inside of your CRM. Like, there's different zaps and things that will go back and forth. There's lots of ways to put this, implement this in your own way, or you can, of course, print it off the old-fashioned way. But my team absolutely loves this because they get to run the business how they want to, and they know that we're just holding the accountability to points, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And activity. I mean, Erin has created a culture of activity, right? Correct. That is definitely an important component, because I'm the old saying, activity breeds activity. It definitely relates to real estate. And this is just a great, fun way to keep people going. Okay, yes. The next one up is Leadership Communication Pack. The communication touch points with agents is different than with clients, right? It's different than it is with your lenders or your vendor partners. And so we've created kind of a bullet point of key communications that you have to have with your team. And those things involve at the hiring stage, at the firing stage, at the review stage. It's just quick notes. We'll expand upon this inside of the intensive, but this is just to get you thinking about different conversations that you might not have had yet inside of your business.
All right. So inside of the intensive, we're going to have live working sessions. We're going to have complete team structures, compensation plans, documented SOPs, operational workflows, team business plan. I mean, you guys, this is insane. Training systems, onboarding systems, leadership framework, accountability framework, 12-month team marketing plan, growth plan, customizable marketing suite, clear tech stack, and support for your implementation. A lot of good stuff. All right, and we already went through in the middle, so just in case you guys missed it, we're going to have Tara. She actually has an amazing, I will put the link in the bottom of this in Moms in Real Estate in the comments. But she actually has an amazing, she does this virtual conference every year, and it is next level. So I'm going to make sure to invite you guys all to that. She is awesome at systems, like I said. Mindy Jones, one of my good friends who is exactly what to say certified, also great, huge community builder with her team too, does a lot of charity work.
And interesting enough, every single one of these agents that are going to be joining us, these team leads, they're running teams in a very different way. Like Mindy, although I don't know Mindy, I've only had a few short conversations with her. I'm so impressed with, talk about culture inside of a team. Boy, insane. She really has created this a community of givers. And so having that voice to give you some ideas about what can make your team stand out, I believe Mindy's team stands out above others in her market because of her culture.
Totally.
And why I love this too is because obviously Rebecca, Kristen, and I are leading all of the meat and potatoes part of it. But even hearing these other coaches' voices, you're going to take something away from Mindy or Tara or Amy or any one of these other people. Same thing with us. You're going to resonate with one more than the other because that's how you decide that you want to run your team. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But that's what I'm also excited about is that I learn a ton from Mindy. She's a close personal friend of mine, and she runs a business completely different from mine. And it's a great business.
Oh, I like the emoji, Julie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. And you guys obviously know Randy. She's the like I told you, the yin to my yang and everything Moms in Real Estate. And then Katie Day, amazing marketer and team lead.
Yeah, Katie runs a lot of ancillary business as well. So we're excited to chat with her about that. But she has a great training program inside of her team and is an unbelievable agent recruiter. So we're excited to hear how she's doing that.
And then Raquel Quinnett, she is a real estate team leader coach who is coaching people from micro teams all the way to teams that have 600 plus agents. And then Amy out of Canada, who has led her team into 1.5 billion in sales since 2017. So super impressive.
And consistently hitting those marks, which is really great. And how big is her team, Erin? Do you know?
On Amy's?
Yeah.
Amy's is 25 people and it's all referral only. There's no leads at all. And the vast majority of them have been with her for 7 to 10 years.
Yes, which is amazing.
That is crazy.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the details, girls. It's 16 weeks. It's 8 modules. It's 8 implementation days, and it's 1 complete blueprint for $5,997. That was a mouthful for me. And it gives you 6-month access into our private Facebook group. And we have a bonus VIP retreat option as well that will be in August.
Super excited about that.
And we have a discount for the first 10 people that sign up. It is $1,000 if you use the code MC25, and you'll go to shebuildsteams.com. And you guys, if you are like, I have more questions, and obviously it's kind of hard through a live class, I would just suggest reaching out to one of us. You guys we're all on Facebook right now, obviously. So shooting us a Facebook message. You can connect with us all on social media. Or if you go to shebuildsteams.com, you're going to see all of our profiles and how to contact us on there.
Yeah. Kristen, because we're live here, do we have email addresses for everyone so that we can share all of the resources?
So if you registered, then absolutely, we will get you guys all of the resources. If you're just like scrolling in Moms in Real Estate and you stop to watch this, or if you're on YouTube, you guys will have to reach out for those resources and I will get those to you.
Okay, good. Yes, because we want to make sure everyone has something to walk away with.
Yeah, those resources you girls have got to get. They are amazing.
Yeah. And I am excited. I'm super excited to actually have that implementation, Rebecca, because like it's too easy for us as moms and as women. Like life just gets in the way, and then we intend to get things done and we just don't get them done. And with this, we have these VAs that are trained to, sit down with you and be able to say, you'll be able to say, hey, these are my things that I think are really important to me. And they'll be able to craft all of these items that you're going to need for your team. And you're going to walk away with a complete system. If you know yourself, I am super ADD. This would have been exactly what I would have signed up for and done, because otherwise I just kept going to event after event, or worse yet, I would pay for course after course and then be like, oh, that was really smart. Yeah, I'll do that sometime.
And then life happens.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing I think we hear all the time is like, get in the room. And this is like your opportunity to get in the room and to literally build out in the 16 weeks what the framework of your team looks like while building relationships with other people. And again, like Erin was saying, like, you have Rebecca and Erin who have built these amazing teams and have different perspectives, but we have so many other coaches that have different perspectives in there. And you might build a great relationship with one of them, and that person becomes like somebody that you can reach out to. So that's a huge, huge piece you need to think about. And I think every year it's like, how are we pushing ourselves, and I was just telling my son this yesterday. We got a coach in football and he's a pro ex-football player. And I told him, I'm like, all the time in life, like, you want somebody that's pouring into you so that you can move to that next step and whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And so I'm excited because, I just invested in a coaching program for 2026 for what I'm trying to do in my next step. So if this is something that you're like, I want to build a team and I want to do it the right way, this is a no-brainer. It's honestly super inexpensive for what it is, and you will definitely see your money back. We are also making it super easy that if you're like, okay, that is a lot of money for me, then you can break it up into a couple payments. So we'll go into that option with you if that's something you want to do.
Yeah. And then I'm going to tap into one other point about the implementation. When we talk about implementation, like, what are we actually talking about? We're talking about fill in the blank for your contracts. We're talking about done for you handbook, fill in the blank with things that are specific to you, your team, and your location. And our VAs will plug it in and deliver you a completed guide. When we talk about buyer's guides, seller's guides, and recruiting guides, they're all completely editable. So again, you fill in the questions, our VA will create it for you and send you a draft version. So really the implementation, like, we are definitely, we want agents that want to get shit done on this. Like, it's about getting shit done, because no one wants the idea. Everyone wants the income from the idea. And so we've broken it down and is easy to tackle snippets as possible.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for being here. And again, reach out to us if you guys have questions. My Instagram is at Hey Kristen Cantrell. Rebecca and Erin, do you guys want to say yours?
Yes, I'm at RebeccaGreen.co.
_Ethridge_team.
Awesome. All right. Dossie, I connected with you on Instagram too, so you are welcome. I love that I have so many chapter leaders on this call. I'm like, wait a minute, you're all wanting to build teams. I'm going to call all of you.
Perfect.
I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye.